Before the Pontiac GTO made the muscle car formula famous, Studebaker put a supercharged V8 into its compact Lark. Then it added front disc brakes, a limited slip differential, firmer suspension and a 4-speed. In period testing, this small sedan could reach 60 in a little over 7 seconds. It was fast, sophisticated and early. Yet Studebaker built only 327 R2-powered Larks for 1963. The problem was not the car. The problem was that Studebaker launched its future so quietly that most buyers never knew it had arrived. To understand how strange that was, go back 4 years. In 1959, Studebaker introduced the Lark at exactly the right moment. Detroit was still filling showrooms with broad, chrome-heavy cars, but a growing number of Americans wanted something easier to park, cheaper to operate, and less excessive. The Lark answered that demand with familiar Studebaker engineering wrapped in a shorter body. It was not exotic, and that was part of its appeal. For a company under pressure, the Lark was more than another model. It was breathing room. Studebaker had joined with Packard in 1954, but the combined company never gained the scale of General Motors, Ford or Chrysler. The Lark gave the independent automaker a compact that buyers understood, and for a time it gave the balance sheet badly needed relief. But Detroit learns quickly when a market appears. Chevrolet brought out the Corvair, Ford launched the Falcon, Plymouth introduced the Valiant. Those cars arrived with enormous dealer networks, national advertising, and corporate resources Studebaker could not match. The Lark had discovered an opportunity, but the big three were now crowding into it. By 1963, the sensible compact that had helped rescue Studebaker needed a new reason to exist. The company could keep selling economy where its larger rivals had caught up, or it could make the Lark into something nobody expected. That second idea came from Studebaker president Sherwood Egbert and the performance operation surrounding Andy Granatelli. Egbert wanted the company to look energetic and modern. The dramatic Avanti was the most visible part of that campaign, but its engineering created another possibility. If the Avanti's high-performance V8 could fit inside a Lark, Studebaker could transform an ordinary compact into a serious road car. The foundation was Studebaker's own 289 cubic inch V8. In R1 form, with high-performance internal parts and a 4-barrel carburetor, it was rated at 240 gross horsepower. The R2 added a Paxton supercharger and raised the eventual factory rating to 289 gross horsepower. Those numbers alone do not explain the car. The Super Lark package treated acceleration as only one part of performance. Buyers could get front disc brakes, heavy-duty springs and shock absorbers, anti-roll hardware, rear axle control rods, a twin-traction limited slip differential, and either a 4-speed manual or a performance automatic. A tachometer and a speedometer marked to 160 miles per hour made the intention impossible to miss once the driver was inside. This was not merely an economy sedan with a large engine squeezed under the hood. Studebaker tried to build a complete performance package that could accelerate, stop, and handle with unusual confidence for an American compact of the period. That distinction matters. The front disc brakes alone placed the Super Lark ahead of many cars that would soon wear far more famous muscle car badges. The package appeared in the spring of 1963. That timing means the Super Lark reached the public before General Motors announced the GTO option for the 1964 Pontiac Tempest in October. Definitions of the first muscle car will always start an argument, and they should. American manufacturers had put powerful engines into lighter cars long before either model. But the Super Lark clearly assembled much of the later formula early. Compact dimensions, a strong V8, youthful equipment, serious acceleration, and a factory-created performance identity. On paper, Studebaker had found its answer. On the road, the R2 Lark proved the idea was real. Contemporary tests put a well-equipped car from 0 to 60 in roughly 7 to 8 seconds, with quarter-mile times around the mid-16 to high 15-second range, depending on the test and transmission. Those figures were impressive for a compact sedan in 1963. The brakes and road manners also drew praise. Then came the first fatal contradiction. Studebaker had created a car that needed a loud launch, but it introduced the Super package late in the model year and failed to give the public a clear horsepower story. Internal company meeting notes from May show that readers were already writing to ask for the R2 horsepower figure. Studebaker's own people recognized the interest, yet official output numbers were still absent. The 289 horsepower rating did not become public until very late in 1963, after the model year had effectively passed. Think about what that meant in the horsepower culture of the early 1960s. Buyers compared engines in advertisements. Magazines organized tests around power claims. Racing organizations used published specifications to classify cars. Pontiac would soon turn the GTO's 325 horsepower rating into part of the product's identity. Studebaker had a supercharger under the hood, but left the most useful number out of the conversation. The silence also made the Super Lark harder to explain on the showroom floor. A Lark buyer had been trained to see practicality and value. A performance buyer wanted drama, status, and a simple reason to choose one car over another. The Super Lark demanded that a salesperson bridge those two identities, while the company withheld the headline figure that could have done the job in one sentence. And then there was the price. The R2 Super Lark package added roughly $680 before a buyer finished selecting every desirable extra. That was a substantial increase on a compact car. The equipment justified real cost. A supercharger, disc brakes, stronger suspension pieces, and performance driveline hardware were not decorative stripes. But the final number pushed the Lark away from its value car roots and toward machines with much stronger names. This is where Studebaker became trapped by its own badge. The company was asking customers to pay for advanced hardware inside a body associated with thrift. Enthusiasts who understood the engineering could see the bargain in performance. Ordinary buyers often saw an expensive Lark. Pontiac approached the same opportunity from the opposite direction. It gave the GTO a memorable name, prominent horsepower numbers, aggressive imagery, and a youthful identity that could be understood from across the street. The car was sold as an event. Studebaker sold the Super Lark more like an unusually serious option sheet. The sales contrast is brutal. General Motors records show that Pontiac sold 32,450 Tempests with the GTO package for the 1964 model year. Studebaker production records list only 327 R2-powered Larks for 1963. The comparison is not perfectly equal because the cars belong to different model years and corporate circumstances. It is still a vivid measure of the distance between inventing a compelling product and building a market around it. If forgotten American performance cars deserve more than a footnote, subscribe to Classic Cars USA, because the next part explains why even perfect marketing might not have saved this one. Studebaker was fighting a larger crisis. The company had too little volume, too much overhead, and rivals that could spread development and advertising costs across millions of vehicles. The Avanti, intended to transform Studebaker's image, suffered production delays. Its special fiberglass bodies did not arrive smoothly enough to support the ambitious launch. The performance program generated attention, but attention could not repair the company's finances quickly enough. There was another cruel twist. Making the Avanti engines available in Larks and Hawks was clever because it spread remarkable hardware across more of the lineup, but it also revealed how Studebaker was improvising under pressure. The company had engines, superchargers, engineers, and racing credibility. What it lacked was time. At Bonneville, Granatelli's team demonstrated what the machinery could do. Supercharged Studebaker set records and pushed speeds that made the old wagon builder look startlingly modern. A specially prepared R2-powered Lark also proved itself at the drag strip. The performance was not fictional, and the engineering was not a gimmick. But records in Utah could not guarantee inventory at a neighborhood dealership, nor could they erase years of uncertainty around the company. A buyer considering an expensive performance car also had to wonder about resale value, service, parts, and whether Studebaker would still be building cars 5 years later. That fear became self-reinforcing. Weak confidence reduced sales, and weak sales made the company's future look even less secure. In December of 1963, Studebaker ended automobile production in South Bend. Assembly continued at the company's Canadian plant in Hamilton, Ontario, and the Studebaker name survived until March of 1966. But the South Bend shutdown ended the world that had produced the supercharged Studebaker V8. The Super Lark never received the long development cycle that turned the GTO from an option into a cultural landmark. That is why calling the car a failure misses the most important lesson. The Super Lark worked, its performance was credible, its brakes and chassis equipment were thoughtful. Its supercharged engine gave Studebaker a distinctive answer to a market that was about to explode. What failed was the connection between the machine and the buyer. The car appeared late. Its horsepower story arrived later. Its option price fought the Lark's economy image. Its manufacturer was running out of money, and its dealer network could not amplify the message like Pontiac's. Every one of those problems made the others worse. The Super Lark also complicates the neat version of muscle car history. The famous story says Pontiac discovered the formula, broke the rules, and created a revolution with the GTO. Pontiac absolutely understood how to package and market that revolution. But Studebaker had already shown that a compact American car could combine supercharged V8 power, 4-speed involvement, limited slip traction, disc brakes, and serious road manners. The difference was not simply horsepower, it was confidence. Pontiac projected confidence in the product, the brand, and the future. Studebaker asked buyers to take a chance on all three. Today, that makes an authentic R2 Lark more fascinating, not less. It is a machine from the brief moment when one of America's oldest automakers tried to outrun its corporate problems with engineering. The plain body is part of the appeal. Most people see a tidy early 60s compact. Enthusiasts know that the unassuming grille can hide a Paxton supercharged V8 and one of Detroit's most complete early performance packages. The Super Lark did not lose because Pontiac built a faster idea. It lost because Pontiac made the idea visible, affordable to understand, and easy to desire. Studebaker had the hardware first, but it introduced that hardware as a late, costly option inside a fading economy car identity, then waited too long to tell America how powerful it was. So the next time someone says the muscle car began with one famous badge, remember the small Studebaker that arrived just before it. The Super Lark was not the car that saved the company. It was the car that proved Studebaker still knew exactly how to build something exciting, even when it no longer knew how to make the market listen.